Well, let me hold it there and leave it to you to question, feedback, comment, add, whatever. The outcome is that normative ethics, like philosophy of religion, is again alive and well, Ea notwithstanding.
How are they dealing with justice and mercy?
With justice, yes, you hear a lot of talk of justice. Rawls is defining justice in terms of distributing equitably the benefits and costs of a society. Okay? Nozick in terms of upholding individual rights, basically acquisition right. Gewerth in terms of respecting the other person and his life project. Okay? Donegan again in terms of individual rights. So I think it's fair to say that the emphasis on justice is in terms of the theory of rights. Yes. And I think it's also interesting that not one of those four are utilitarians. Doesn't mean to say that they ignore consequential considerations, they don't. But they're not utilitarians in the sense of working on everything with the utility principle. So respect for persons, the Kantian note, and theories of human rights seem to be pretty central. Okay. Both Donegan, well, Donegan for the moment, would certainly say that a biblical ethic goes significantly further than the Kantian approach to an ethic, though I'm not sure he ever worked that through to his satisfaction. I remember when he gave the keynote lectures at our philosophy conference a few years after the theory of morality came out. In the discussion time, I remember Rich Mao from Calvin College standing over in that corner, if we were in the East Wing of Edmund, questioning Donegan over there at the podium and trying to lead him on step by step in order to articulate the way in which a Christian ethic would affect his ethical thinking. And he was gradually coming along and beginning to see it, but he was having to think in ways in which he just had never thought before he became a theist. He was raised in a Methodist home in Australia, but I think had not done much thinking from theistic perspective since he was in graduate school. Okay, MacIntyre is having a lot of influence among Christian ethicists. He's had a great influence on the theologian Stanley Hauerwas, Hauerwas, who's been developing virtue ethics from a more theological position and tying it in with narrative approaches to ethics, the narrative of the tradition. You can see that sort of thing implicitly in the emphasis on different traditions. So participating in the life of a tradition, the life of a community, and making its story your own is one of the ways in which you interiorize the values of that tradition and begin to take on the virtues of that tradition. You see? And so the whole theory of moral development is being profoundly affected by this sort of approach.
How would MacIntyre say you critique the virtues of a particular community?
Yeah, that's the weak point. You try to maintain a consistency. You try to look at the effect on others and the end product. But he doesn't seem to have developed any clear-cut critical points of reference. So it becomes a matter of weighing I was going to say the moral, the social value of the thing. You find in After Virtue, one of the first things that he does is to get a contrast going between the aristocratic ethic of the Homeric tradition and what becomes later the Socratic ethic. You see, where the one is interested in beauty, strength, and honor. That's the aristocratic ethic. And if you're familiar with Homer's writings, you can see it in his heroes. You see. Now, Socrates is very different. His concern is with justice, with friendship, with respect, reverence, you see. Now, he...
either was
wrong. Inferior, yes. He doesn't seem to say wrong. He seems to say inferior in terms of the kind of society that it built. One built Sparta, the other built Athens. Take your choice.
Seems like it all points to some sort of end, human flourishing or
Yes.
happiness.
Yeah, precisely. You couldn't be more on target. Yeah. Human flourishing, in fact, is the term that is often used for the end, the goal. Human flourishing. What does it mean to flourish? Well, in the Aristotelian tradition, it means to actualize to the full flowering, flourishing, the full flowering of human potential. You see? But that involves an Aristotelian teleology. Well, we've run over.